Genesis 1:28 is important first because it really sets the mandate for all of humanity. It's given to Adam and Eve before any reproduction has occurred, and there God tells Adam and Eve to be fruitful, to multiply, to fill up the earth, to subdue it and to rule over it.
God told us to rule the earth. Now that doesn't mean to exploit the earth, but to care for it.
God created man in His own image, and in the context of the environment, man is our most important, valuable, and precious natural resource.
By filling the earth, He's to go out from the garden, transform the rest of the earth into garden. This means the whole biblical view is of cooperation between humanity and the rest of creation, a cooperation in which humanity takes the lead.
We recognize that it does appear that we've experienced a warming trend, but that it doesn't appear to us that the science is nearly as settled as some people are telling us.
It is now a very fashionable issue to talk about global warming and to express publicly our concern for these issues, but we can't allow public piety to replace clear, hard thinking.
Is there anybody that doesn't want to care for the earth? I mean, all of us want to care for the earth. That's not the issue. The real issue is the how-to of it all.
The Cornwall Alliance is addressing the basic problem that people are attempting to think about environmental stewardship divorced from a biblical worldview, divorced from biblical theology, divorced from biblical ethics, and all too often also divorced from good science and good economics.
The most important thing, as in all of our lives as Christians, is we need to go back to what the Scripture has to say. And I think we have to start with the Scripture.
In Colossians 1:16 and 17, it talks about the fact that Jesus Christ is the one that holds this world together.
You know, I come from the Sheryl Crow School of Environmentalism. I don't know about you, but Sheryl wants us to use one tissue, and that's how we're going to save the earth. Now, occasionally, some of us need two tissues, and I think it's the how-to. Is Sheryl going to come into my bathroom to make sure that I'm being conservative enough I mean, it can be carried to an extreme.
The important thing is that we understand we have a Creator, and He has given us a great resource in our earth. And as a response to that, we can be good managers of it. And Cornwall will help us in understanding how we can do that and do it well.
Our task as Christians is to take the biblical world and life view that we find throughout Scripture and apply that to transforming this world to make it a better and better place.
Whenever you're trying to apply theological principles to some kind of public policy, you can't avoid dealing with specific scientific issues, factual claims, and economic analysis. In particular, you can't avoid dealing with the costs and benefits of any particular policy.
Our first responsibility in terms of stewardship and care is about our fellow human beings. And if we're engaging in an activity that does not benefit all humankind, then we should really question the activity that we're engaged in.
Everybody agrees we want to help the poor, but the difficulty is that much of the climate change alarmist public policies will in fact keep the poor extremely poor.
We need energy, and in fact, as our economies develop, we need more and more energy. People are benefited by using energy. We use it to produce everything that we consume.
If we profess to be Christians, then we got to be Christ-like. We got to do the things that Christ did. As a matter of fact, it gave us as a commission that we should do greater things than He did.
He gave to us that responsibility to love Him and to worship Him as our Creator God, as our saving God, and also to be able to love others as we love ourselves. That as they see our love for others, then they will see Him through us.
Many people in the developing world don't have electricity for their homes. Consequently, they use wood and dried dung as their principal heating and cooking fuels, costing 1.6 to 1.8 million lives every year because people are breathing that stuff in their homes, in their huts, women and children mostly.
It's those at the bottom rung of the economic ladder that are going to be affected most directly and most adversely in the case of very bad environmental policies. And so as Christians, when we talk about the environment, we have to think about the poor.
And the desire is to raise human beings to the point where they become wealthy, where we create wealth, where they can take care of themselves, and at that point, they'll clean up the environment.
There's not a single day in my life that I will sleep without praying that God make the people that are poor today, bring them in my position, because I've been in their shoe.
We see them also as people with potential, people who are also created in the image of God, who just need somebody to say, yes, you are a person of value.
We are to use the reason and the mind and the creativity and the ingenuity that God has given to us to be able to make the earth fruitful. And He wants us as His people to be able to show forth through that productivity, to be able to show more of His glory.
The Cornwall Alliance says we have to address these issues in tandem. We have to bridge environmental stewardship and human economic development.
We are going to deal with the poor, but we're also going to deal with the environment. And as we take dominion over creation, we are able to handle creation in a responsible fashion.
A growing economy and an improving environment do go hand in hand. What a lot of Americans forget is that America is the wealthiest country on the face of the earth. Most of the people around the world are much poorer than most Americans are.
We shouldn't be enacting policies that essentially benefit the developed world at the expense of the undeveloped world.
If your child is starving to death and you can barely get enough food together, you don't care that there aren't any roses in your yard. You don't care that there's trash in the stream. You've got other concerns.
The biblical perspective of nature provides a rock-solid foundation for environmental stewardship, and I would say that it balances the extremes.
We're not global warming deniers. We believe there's been global warming. What we don't believe is that most or all of that warming is due to mankind.
Somebody said, well, you know, the temperature 1 million years ago. Who was keeping track of the temperature 1 million years ago? My weatherman in my hometown can't tell me what it's going to do tomorrow. He tells me it's going to rain, it's a beautiful sunshiny weekend. How in the world is anybody going to be able to predict with any kind of accuracy where we're going to be in 50 years, where we're going to be in 500 years?
As a person of faith, I believe that God controls history, and I believe that He is moving this planet toward His purposes.
The environmental movement, or the radical environmental movement in our culture, really has its roots in paganism, not in good theology, and I think that we want to avoid that at all costs.
Civilizations change, cultures change. Now, why would the environment not change in the same way?
God is faithful, and He's made some promises in the Bible that really very directly relate to this very issue. If we will go to our Bibles asking, what does this teach me about environmental stewardship? We'll discover it says far more than we'd ever imagined.
It is an urgent issue because right now policies are being made and procedures are being put in place in government and with not just our government but around the world through the United Nations that are setting our nation and our world on a course economically that we have to deal with this right now.
This is our issue. God gave us this issue, so I don't want people who have no faith to take the issue and make it an issue that has nothing to do with faith. It has everything to do with faith.
For hundreds, in fact thousands of years in the Christian faith, stewardship of God's creation has been an important principle. So Cornwall's just reminding us all of that.
Biblical precepts, biblical teachings, things that are vital, things that the Lord is looking out for. And that's what brings this body together, becoming an alliance.
We want to bring solid biblical theology, biblical worldview, biblical ethics, together with good science and good economics in the service of both humanity and the broader creation.